Hi. Thank you for that generous welcome to country and welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here today. It's kind of wild to think that today almost didn't happen. This time last year, we were told Design Outlook wouldn't be returning. But here we are, Design Outlook 2025. Hi, I'm Mindy, and I'll be your MC for the day. And I just want to say it's so good to be here. Not just because it's back, but because it's grown. This year, we're the Outlook, with Product Outlook happening right next door. It's the first time we brought both product and design together in one space, a true reflection of how connected our work really is. So whether you're here for design, product, or just for the people, welcome, and I genuinely hope you feel like this space is for you. And before we go any further, I want to take a moment to ground us in where we are and who came before us. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're gathered on today, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to any First Nations people here today. And lately, I've been thinking about what it means to feel grounded, especially in a world that moves so fast. New tools, new teams, new expectations. It's a lot to hold. But one thing I keep coming back to is the deep, continuous relationship that First Nations people have held with this land for over 2,000 generations. It's a powerful reminder that continuity matters, that care, culture, and connection aren't add-ons, but they're the foundation, the part that holds everything else together. So as we move through a day full of ideas and momentum, I hope we also move with intention, and that we remember not just what we're building, but who we're building it for, and that we honor the stories, cultures, and communities that have long shaped this land. I also want to take a moment to thank the people who've made this event possible. To our partners and supporters, new and returning, we're so glad you're here. It is a long list, so instead of reading each one out now, I'll be sharing thank yous throughout the day. But to start, I want to give a special mention to our principal partners, Figma, ANZ, Optimal Workshop, and Miro. Thank you for your ongoing support. Can we please give them all a huge round of applause? Whew. Okay. Now, for those of you who may not know me, I wanted to share a little about how I ended up here, not because my story is unique, but because it shaped how I see the work we're all here to do. And earlier, I mentioned grounding, and for me, that often comes from the stories we carry and the ones we're invited into. So being in a room like this is a reminder that design's never been one size fits all. Each of us brings a different lens, shaped by where we started, what we worked through, and what we care about. So just to show how different our paths really are, quick show of hands. Who here studied design and is still in the same kind of role you started in? Ooh. And now, who's come into design from another field, changed careers entirely, swapped titles, maybe moved countries, switched roles so many times you've lost count? Cool. Glad to see I'm not alone. My story actually started as a hair colorist. So for over 6 years, I specialized in bleach transformations, turning dark hair into icy blondes and silvers. And looking back, there's more overlap than you'd expect. Problem solving, communication, and a whole lot of trust, because someone's literally trusting you not to melt their hair off. And eventually, I swapped bleach and foils for Figma and Post-its. And like a lot of us, I didn't have the right background or use the right language. I just explained things the way they made sense in my head, plainly, honestly, and sometimes awkwardly. And for a while, I thought that made me less of a designer. I'd walk into rooms like this and think, who am I to be here, to speak about design? And yes, that's imposter syndrome, but it also reflects how narrow our idea of designer can sometimes be. But what changed was the community around me, people who saw value where I didn't, who welcomed me in even when I didn't fit the mold. And I know I'm not the only one still figuring that out. So, on behalf of people like me still finding our footing, thank you. Thank you to the leaders, teams, and communities who've made this industry a little more open, a little more human, and a little more possible. And it's the thoughtfulness behind that that made a real difference for people like me. And it's part of what brought me here today. So, let me share how I ended up here on stage. A few months ago, when the MC call out went out, I messaged asking, hey, what are the requirements for MCing? Asking for a friend. And that friend was Jetty, who's actually MCing next door. So that worked out well. But then a few days later, I got a message asking if I'd consider being MC this year. And my first thought was, what? I didn't see that coming at all. I was honored, but honestly kind of terrified. Because I'm an introvert, I have anxiety, and standing here in front of more than one person, yeah, I was freaking out, and still am. But I said yes, not because it felt easy, but because I knew what it meant to be trusted, to be offered this role. And every year, this role is given to someone newer in the field. Not as a token gesture, but because Design Outlook believes we are the future of design. And that got me thinking. If it's already hard for juniors to get a foot in the door, to land that first role, or even be considered, then how are we making sure design continues to grow in the right direction? You see, we built an impossible loop. You need experience to get experience. And when junior roles start to disappear, it's not just disheartening, it's unsustainable. If we stop creating space for people starting out, who are we building the future with? Think about the brilliant designers we're missing out on, simply because they didn't tick a very specific, often unrealistic set of boxes. But now, imagine the opposite. Teams that intentionally make room, that invest in mentorship, that welcome potential, even when it looks different from what they're used to. Imagine what those teams could build. The bold ideas, the fresh perspectives, the kind of energy that only someone new to the field can bring. And I know it's not always easy. It takes time, effort, and trust. But if that had been the rule, I wouldn't be here today. Because someone looked past the checklist and saw something worth building on. And I know it doesn't work that way for everyone. I was lucky. And there wasn't just one person who did that for me. There were two. They made space and stayed, even when it would have been easier not to. And that kind of belief doesn't just shape your career, it shapes how you show up for your work and for other people. So maybe take a moment and ask yourselves, who made space for you? Who believed in you before the title, the confidence, the proof? And now, who are you doing that for? Who might just need a chance? Because the future of design doesn't build itself, we shape it through the people we support, the voices we lift, and the paths we open up. And the impact of those choices, it doesn't end with us. It carries forward into the work, the culture, and the next generation. And that's the kind of future I want to help build with all of you. And that's why today feels so important. Because Design Outlook isn't just about the latest tools or frameworks, it's about people. It's about all of us in one space asking, where are we heading? What kind of future do we want to design? And how do we get there together? Now, one of the things I love most about Design Outlook is that it gives us something we rarely get during the work week: time. Time to reconnect, time to look up from our inboxes, time to breathe, to pause, to reflect. No meetings, no just jumping on a quick call, no Slack or Teams notifications dragging us away, just a room full of people, stories, and shared experiences. And last year, I came as a volunteer. I had just moved from the US. I didn't know anyone in Australia or in the industry. And I signed up hoping I learn something about design, or at least have one maybe awkward, meaningful conversation. And what I found instead was something even better: connection. I met people I never expected to meet, people with totally different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. And we ended up having the best conversations. And some of these people are now close friends. Some even flew in from across Australia or overseas. And it still blows my mind that I get to be part of a space where connections like this can happen. So as we move through the day, talking, listening, maybe even surprising ourselves, I hope you stay open, because the people you'll hear from today, they're doing the same. And what ties today's presenters together is not just that they're brilliant at what they do, is that they're asking the same questions many of us are. And if you're anything like me, you probably walked in today holding a few of your own about your work, your path, or where we're all heading next. Questions like, how do we stay curious and creative when everything's moving so fast? How do we lead not just with confidence, but with clarity and care? And how do we keep making work that still resonates even as the world keeps shifting? You'll hear from people using curiosity to drive change and experimentation to build trust and influence. You'll hear stories about redesigning systems and ourselves, about leading in ways that don't always fit the mold, and how differences can be a source of strength. We'll hear from people building fast, digging deep, asking bigger questions, from the future of AI to the future of the planet, from visibility, value, and leadership to what success even means anymore. There'll be space for honesty, identity, and reflection about how we show up, what we've internalized, and what we want to leave behind. Because what makes today special isn't just the content, it's the range of perspectives in the room. Each presenter brings a different lens, a different way of thinking, and a different way of working through these questions. Some talks will provoke, some will comfort, and some might stay with you longer than you expect. Each one invites us to pause and reflect, not to land on perfect answers, but to make space for better questions together. And before we hear from our first presenter, I just want to leave you with one last thought. I hope you hear something today that stays with you, that you reconnect with someone you've missed, that you remember what pulled you into this work in the first place. And if things have felt a little heavier lately, if the spark's been harder to find, I hope today gives you even a small moment of light. Because the pace, the pressure, it's a lot. And even in a room full of designers, we sometimes forget how much of ourselves we pour into this work, especially when we're asked to move faster and the stakes feel higher than ever. But when you look around this room, I hope you feel like you're not in it alone, whether you're just starting out or quietly holding up more people than anyone realizes. It's a rare thing to gather in a space where people care not just about the work, but about each other. So whether this is your first design outlook or your fourth, thank you for being here and thank you for being a part of this. And I feel incredibly lucky to help hold space for what's ahead. And of course, I have to go through housekeeping, so sorry. I swear it's almost over. A few quick things to help your day run smoothly. If you need anything, directions, timings, or just a bit of help, look for someone in an Outlook t-shirt. They'll be easy to spot, and they're here to help. And both design and product outlook do run in blocks, and that means 2 or 3 talks in a row followed by a break. Once a block starts, the doors will close just to minimize distractions for everyone inside. You're welcome to attend either stream, but priority will go to those with a matching ticket. So before the doors close, please pick the block, not just the presenter, and get comfy until the next break. And if you miss something, don't stress. Everything is being recorded, so you can always catch up later. And with that, let's get started. To kick off our day, we're starting not with answers, but with questions. Simon Banks is a and innovation specialist, a podcaster, author, and self-described recovering artist. Across his career, he's championed the power of looking closer, of using curiosity to uncover meaning, make better decisions, and see things in a new way. Today, he invites us to notice what we often miss and to explore how the act of truly seeing can sharpen our thinking, fuel our creativity, and shape the work we do.